Welcome in our next episode. In this episode, we are going to talk how to be yourself in the modern world. What are the key factors which are allowing us to be ourselves and to tap into the greatest potential? Today, my guest speaker is Evelien van Es, and she is international speaker, sparring partner, and the business coach for the entrepreneurs and the professionals, specializing in a midlife. She has a corporate background in church management and managed development and has been the entrepreneur since 2006. Evelien, welcome in our podcast. I'm so happy and delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Cornelia. It's lovely to be here with you.
How are you doing? Everything good?
Yes, I'm doing wonderful. And how about you?
Yeah, everything is good. It was busy, exciting week. But however, if I knew that I'm going to have a meeting with you, I gained a completely new energy because I know the subject which we are talking and going deeply will resonate with many our listeners, and especially the one who may be trying to find a solution how to deal, for instance, with situation in the corporate or even the life, to find the purpose, to find the energy and be in yourself. So let's begin. Evelien, I was very delighted reading and actually working with your book, because this is like a very great guidance where we can tap and rework and be better ourselves. Why actually that title? Yeah. Be relentlessly yourself. I just want to
Well, I think Be Relentlessly Yourself for me is actually the title that really suits my own journey in life, where I was 20 years working in the corporate world, where I was doing many things that were good, but especially working with people and working with teams. But I had this constant nagging feeling, there must be something better out there. And I was missing true fulfillment. And my journey was all about really looking for myself. And I was going from job to job every once in a while, every couple of 2 to 3 years. And then in 2006, I went to become an interim manager. And I was constantly looking for something, but I couldn't find it. And this book really is about actually spreading the message that the key to finding fulfillment in life really is about allowing yourself to be truly who you are. And that is beyond ego, that is beyond personality. And so Be Relentlessly Yourself and Take on Life really is a title that suits me and many clients I work with, because I see many people that are looking for something and they don't really know what they're looking for, but they have this constant feeling that there is something missing in their life. And I think that if you find a way to allow yourself to be completely who you are from the core of your being, that's what gives you the possibility to learn to how you can manifest yourself into the world. And that's what gives you fulfillment. So that's a long answer to a short question. Why this title? But there's lots more I can tell about it though.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, you have been working in the corporate. I'm currently also working in the corporate. And what is really kind of what is happening as well, regardless in the corporate or entrepreneurs, if people they are having let's say successful professional and the private life, but they are still unhappy. So can you tell us what is what basically they are missing, and what will be your response in that question? If actually I'm having a good job, I'm having good salary, I'm living in a pretty nice country, having good relation, but something is not really working. So how to deal with that?
Yeah, well, and I think there are a couple of things I can mention on that question, because I think that many people just having a nice car, good job, living in a nice house, having nice friends, and they still feel that there is something missing, or they still feel that they're not happy. The question is, do you know what success really means for you? To really give a good definition on what is success for you. Because for many people, most people, if you do not really have that feeling of fulfillment with what you do, you don't feel like success, even though you have the money and you live in a golden cage, as I call it. And it is all about growing in self-awareness and to really know what drives you and what really makes your clock tick. And it is actually the people that are questioning about how to become more happy there's something lacking, because it's the lack of being busy with that question, if am I happy or not, is actually happiness. So, for me, looking at my own life, I don't question about if I'm happy or not, because I know how to create my own happiness, and I feel that I'm happy, so it's not an issue. And I think that if you have that feeling that you're in a corporate job or whatever you do, maybe even already, took the leap or maybe partially to entrepreneurship, but you still have a feeling that there's something wrong, go within and go find out what is wrong, and learn to be that observer, to take a step back and understand what is going on, and understand what situation you're in and how you can change it.
Yeah, so absolutely right. And what is also coming to my mind as well is this expectations which we are living in the current society. Expectation of the society, expectation of the relationship which we have.
Yeah.
And what would be your response into that? Because of course, even in the corporate, we're having like a goals, targets, even like entrepreneurs. Is it something, it's good to have this expectation, or it's rather how to deal with that? Because we cannot even avoid.
I love that topic, because I think we all have expectations to some degree. And I think that I even write a chapter on this in my book, because I think that if you're aware of how having huge expectations can really, are just, can make you disappointed really quickly. For example, if you're in a position in the corporate world where you feel like you've done everything, you made your goals and you want a promotion, and you really expect it, and then you're not getting the promotion, or someone else gets a promotion. And I think that by living on high expectations, that you get easily disappointed. And you even talked about in relationships, and I think even there, people really have high expectations of each other. So it's all a question of teaching yourself and training yourself to see and understand what your expectations are, and I talked about, being that observer, and always as if you're a helicopter that you're flying over, and that you can see what your own expectations are. And I think expectations are not only negative, because I think that expectations also say something about what is a desire within us, something that we would like. But I think it's especially important with expectations to always take the responsibility for your own life. And that's what I see a lot with the people that I work with, is that to really listen to the words that you speak. For example, I think that you should be doing this, or this should be, talk about, or he or she has done something to me, or maybe your manager has done, but you always have the possibility to draw your boundaries. So you always have a possibility in where you let someone either hurt you or do something, or maybe in a project team where, the collaboration is not really running smooth. Everywhere, in every situation, you have your own responsibility. So I think that my suggestion there is that to learn to be that observer, and to understand what your own expectations are, and how these expectations are actually keeping you in a position where it's easily gets into a disappointment. And if you can change that, and take a step back and allow to really be present and to see what happens, instead of really getting high expectations, then you make your life a lot easier if you can live with just less expectations. And also for ourselves, because this is, I'm talking in the perspective of you and I, or in a team, but also so many people have so high expectations of themselves. And I think that is that, I would want every other person to be more gentle with themselves, and to allow themselves to look at yourself with compassion and with love, and not, be such a pain in the ass for ourselves.
Yeah, this is what you mentioned. And I think I used to be in that mode a few years back, before I started doing this growth and the work on myself, and this constant inner subconscious voice, which is inside in each of us, which is kind of beating us. And what would be then the solution, Evelien? Is it like you mentioned, treat yourself with the greatness? How to get there with this greatness space? Because you also mentioned that let me look on the book, because you wrote a really nice phrase which I want to use it as well. You cannot make a wrong decision if they are based on your heart. They can only lead to the life lessons that always bring the value, even though you may not yet see it in the moment. Elaborate more, because this is seems very easy, greatness, and how to do that, in this dynamic modern world.
And I think it's one thing is that everything that happens in your life is a consequence of a decision that you made. And I think that we were just talking about how we can be tough on ourselves. And I think it's about learning to see that what is behind, what is in the past, that you can learn to see, and especially to see at even the tough things and the things that maybe hurt you, or the disappointments, how you can see and turn this around. I always say, like, every metal has a dark and a light, a bright side, but how you can look at it and learn from it, and to see how you can, get the lesson learned and use it, and then move forward. And I think that if you stay stuck in, being angry, or staying in a disappointment, or having a feeling of revenge, of all of that, you're, especially yourself, not allowing yourself to get into the right energy to grow as a person. And I think that the biggest gift is if we can, look back in our lives and start to see the beauty in the things that at the time were hurting us. And the quote that you were just speaking about is that usually when you're in the midst of a situation, we have so many emotions that we don't even see it, because we're just too caught up in the emotions. And so it just needs a bit of time to be able to, to take that distance and to see what is happening. And I think that you were talking about the dynamic world, and so many people that are, in jobs where they are constantly running around. And I think that taking a step back and, to allow yourself literally some breathing time, and to be able to see what is happening, is essential for your personal growth. And that is important for every single soul, because if you don't do that, you're not allowing yourself to learn from the lessons in the past. You're not able to see that and to learn from it. So that's really important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we should also emphasize the mindset, which you just mentioned, because in your book, you are never using a word like a failure. I didn't find it. You always coming from the mindset of lessons. So everything what we do, it's based, and I changed that mindset, because before, I failed it, I didn't make it. And then it's completely shifting everything which we do, like in a student mode, in a learner, observer. And this is basically, I think, as well, the key elements, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you said it just right, because that really is what it's all about. Because if you stick into, telling yourself your stories about what you haven't done well, you're really blocking yourself. And that really is that this is something that you can train yourself to, on a daily basis, become really aware of the thoughts that you think, the words that you speak about yourself to begin with, and also towards the other. You know, it's so often that we have certain thoughts about someone, but just constantly be aware of what you do and what you think. And if you change that, you know, your life is going to change entirely. And that is going to contribute to your feeling of happiness. You're going to feel more inner peace. And that is really life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Evelien, in your book, you mentioned that we are living in the scripts. And can you pull a bit more curtain about rewriting the scripts? Because I think regardless of how great parents we have or not great society we are living whatsoever, we still need to do this inner work. I think that homework needs to be anyhow done by, if we want to grow, if we want to be, like you mentioned, relentless yourself, and then expanding and living the life. So can you say a little bit more about these scripts which we are living, stereotypes, and how to flip them around, you know, to be better in the interaction with the people, in the work, in the relationship?
Yeah, and this question is really in line with what we just talked about, because it's really early in life, when we're already young, maybe even in kindergarten already, that we are being, you know, taught by our parents how to behave or what to do and what not to do in school. We're taught how to do certain things. So we create really early in life all kinds of stories in our mind, in our head, about what we should be doing in certain situations and what we shouldn't be doing. And I think that by growing in your self-awareness, you know, it's the peak of the Maslow pyramid, actually, you know, it's the self-actualization, is that if you really work on that, you understand all the different scripts that you have in your life and how we tend to judge on situations, or how we tend to think about, you know, certain situations or people. And if you allow yourself to see what you think and the words that you speak, is you can see that if you change that and get the negativity out of that, because that negativity is something that is especially blocking yourself from further growth. And I think one of the tips I could give is that really start to become the observer and to see how you can see with other people how scripts are leading them in certain situations. For example, in this COVID pandemic, you know, lots of people have opinions about, you know, getting vaccinated, yes or not, or about the position of the politics and about the media, and it is so many people, just because of some things that they might have been through in the past, have certain scripts. And I think that if you can allow yourself to, you know, take a step back and to see how you can change your story and to tell yourself a different story, that really helps you to understand yourself at so many deeper layers and to get back to what your nature is all about. Because we're so, you know what, I was just explaining about what happens to us when we're really young. It's all processes where we are nurtured in a certain way by many people surround us. So what we do is that we take over these thoughts and these opinions and these expectations, and we make them as if they're ours. And I think that what most of us do later on in life, when we're 30 or 40 and even 50 plus, is we somehow think, hey, but this is not really what feels right for me. And so then we start changing these stories, changing these scripts. And this is just a gradual process that is actually never ending, because, you know, I still believe that life is all about the journey of step by step getting to the core of who we truly are, and to understand how these scripts are somehow, you know, are having a grip on us. But if you understand how you can change these stories, you can change anything. You can create everything that you want in life.
Yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. And we should also mention that that process sometimes might be painful because, like you mentioned, we might get rid of the relationship which we with a time realize, no, this is not what my values are. I don't want to live in that country. I just want to move. I just want to explore. And then we are kind of braver making such a decision, or even, I don't know, changing the job, changing the environment which we are living, which is not feeling us, suiting to us, isn't it? So
yeah.
And can you say more and mention to the audience how that process might be look like? Because I know in your book you have been mentioning a lot of stories which you work with your clients, which were bumpy, sometimes smoother, but how does it look like, this process overall? What they can be expecting from that?
Well, the reason I put the subtitle of my book, And Take on Life, is all about, because you can choose to be relentlessly yourself, but then again, it's all about taking on life. And for me, taking on life really is about not running away from things that might be painful for us, but to really go through the pain and to learn from it, and to see and to not walk away from pain. Because some people are just, sometimes it's just too painful, and people just then they have their ego that's protect them, and they just they walk away from it. And I think that not being afraid to face life for what it is, and life, it has its dynamics. There are very few people that have a life that it's kind of like a flat line. But we all have our peaks, and the good thing about it is that if we don't have these peaks and downs, then we don't appreciate the peaks anymore, because we think it's all a peak. So then we don't experience it as a peak. So, and I think that the beauty of life is that you're not afraid to go through pain, but especially to allow yourself to feel what you truly feel, because your emotions are so important to tell you what is really going on deep beneath the surface. And that's what I think, that what entrepreneurship brought me in my life, that it really allowed me to really get to deeper understanding of who I truly am. And I think that's challenging in the corporate world, because you have so many things. You have the culture within a team, you have the culture within the entire organization, you have certain dynamics with your manager and or maybe with the people that you're leading in your team. And I think that as an entrepreneur, you allow yourself to really get out there, to be out there naked. There's no one and nothing to hide behind. And I think the challenge for people in the corporate world is to stay awake and to stay alert and to see what is going on, and to still work on your personal growth, and not to be afraid of things that happen to you, and to learn to see every single thing that you can appreciate, and think about that, the metal that I was just talking about, the dark side and the bright side. Every single situation, even though it's the most painful that you go through, has a bright side besides the dark side.
Yeah, this is absolutely right, because I'm having a great chance, experiencing corporate world and also entrepreneurship when I'm just stepping in. And this is absolutely true. Corporate is great. It's putting processes, it's putting this to go and how to do it. But the thing is, it's lacking this inner self-development, this quietness, and to be really fulfilled, regardless of the job which you are having, corporate or entrepreneurship, is this mindfulness and what we really want at the end. Is it that position? Is it that project which we are running? And at the end, because there is also one phrase saying, if I'm saying no to one thing, I'm saying yes to another thing, regardless what this might be. But I think most important in the whole life is to be aligned and feeling comfortable with the decision which we are making on a daily basis, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And also it's important talking about decisions is that you know how to follow, your intuition in making decisions, because we can make decisions in many different ways. We can make it just by a willpower because we want something, and we all have our intuition. And for some people they see it, some people feel it, or whatever happens, but to open up and to really learn to let your intuition guide you. And I think that, especially talking about leadership, it would be so wonderful if we would have more people, and I think we're all a leader in our own position, in our own role, in many different ways, but if we'd have more people that would follow their heart in making decisions, you will not only make your own life easier, but also the life of others. And also I wanted to comment on is that although, I've been an entrepreneur now for 15 years and I still love the corporate world because it's brought me so much, I've learned so much on the strategic, on the analytical part, met so many wonderful people. And there are many different ways how you can work on your personal development and the growth of your self-awareness. So it's not that everyone should be an entrepreneur, because I think that it's all about getting to know yourself and to see how you can use your creativity and your unique added value best. And for me, that's best in this role as being an entrepreneur, as doing my speaking, doing my coaching, managing my team of coaches. That's how I feel best. But I think for every single person, it's different. And also the need and the desire to really have a huge fulfillment in your life is also different for everybody, because some people just have a lifetime where, they just don't really have that huge desire for fulfillment. And that's also all right. We all live our own life and our own, journey in life, and that's all okay. So it's not like we all have to be, it's not a one fit for everybody. It's just, everybody lead your life the way you want it, but make sure that you are very aware of what you truly desire deep within.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, most important is be aligned with yourself. And the trick is how to do it in the subconscious mind, leading with the heart. And you touch a very good topic in terms of leadership, because these days leadership is not only target oriented. We need to bring this humanity into the space. And like you said, the more self-development we do, then better results as a team, as a leaders we can achieve. One more question, Evelien. How we can protect ourselves in terms of ego? Because you mentioned that ego might be our enemy, and how to manage that enemy. And in your book you mentioned, let me quickly check, how did you nicely phrase that one? Healthy ego, exactly. How to deal with this healthy ego concept, because we know we want to, if we want to achieve the life and desire the life, it's good to have, let's say, targets and so on. But how to live with the peace and also with this healthy ego concept, because each of us is having ego, more or
absolutely,
less.
Absolutely. And we just talked about leadership, and so what I like about it is that talking about leadership and a relationship with ego is that a leader that is, very keen on getting followers, as many followers as they want, that's a leader that is usually led by ego. But a leader that is very much focused on creating a community of more leaders, of people that are leaders themselves, that is most probably a leader that is very self-aware of its own ego. And I think that ego, there is a healthy side about the ego, because ego is also a protection mechanism for us, that in contact, in connection with others, that our ego tells us what is going on. And people that are really stuck in their own ego are actually making their ego their own enemy. And I think it's the key about being relentlessly yourself is to be that observer and to see how your ego is sometimes protecting you and sometimes is not serving you, and where you have the choice to say, okay, ego, it's nice that you're here, but please move aside, because then you choose to be in control over your ego. And it's all about, once you are more self-aware, that you can see when your ego comes up and when you want to allow your ego to control, or where you say, no, I want to take over because this is not what I want. So it's all about self-knowledge. Actually is the key to be able to control your ego. And so the example that I just mentioned about the leader is that usually people that are very high on status and on their position, and that are showing really a huge ego, they don't really hold the steering wheel, actually, because they let their ego be in control. So I think that ego is something that can be healthy just to protect you in certain situations, but it's all about understanding and being able to observe. And one of the tips I can share, that I even speak about in my book, is that first, with the ego, if you want to become more aware of the ego, start looking at others. Start looking at what you see others do. And you can look at people maybe on social media, or maybe people in your own environment. And you can really teach yourself to really start to observe other people and how their ego sometimes takes over. And then by doing that, you can really, grow your own sensitivity to really see what your own ego does. But this is only possible for people that are somehow opening up, because if you're completely in a situation where you're caught up in your ego in a huge way, you won't even know, because you don't even see it. And I think most of the listeners that are listening to this podcast will probably, are eager to see their own ego and to learn from it.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry to interrupting you. Yeah, you give me very good tip. I mean, which we can also implement it. I mean, that would be like our barometer. You know what I mean? But like you said, you need to be in that state as well, which you mentioned, like in a student, in an observer already. So once you accept that mindset, observer, then it's putting in a completely different space. And actually, you can sense it since kilometers away, the ego person, isn't it? This is how it's working. Even in a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe one more thing that I want to point out is that, and people with a big ego, they're not just, bad people. It's what you can see is often that their ego is so high because they want to cover up their own pain and fear. And that's something that, if you can see that, you can also look with compassion to these person, but let them be, and usually stay away from them, because it's people that are really caught up in big egos. They're just too afraid, because they don't want to have pain. They don't want to feel the fear. And so the big ego makes them feel like they're controlling it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big drama is happening inside them. Evelien, what about you? We talk about the leadership. What about this vulnerability aspect which you mentioned? Because ego is a protector, but it's also having the disadvantage that you cannot really lead with the kind of compassion way, So what would be your combination of leadership with the vulnerability, because it's something which I'm big fan, and I want to get your opinion about that one, especially we as a women who are in the business. How would you like to reflect on that? Is it something which we should lean more into it, not be afraid, or rather, no, we shouldn't be vulnerable, What are
there's so many things I could to say about that, because I think that vulnerability definitely is something that I know myself, that I have had to learn to grow in, to show more of what was deep within. And I think really my book is a huge breakthrough for myself, to open up and to share some of the stories that I've been, but it's by doing that I have found myself that you can have such huge impact in changing others. We were just talking about the leader that wants more followers, or the leader that is actually creating more leaders in their community. And it's by being vulnerable. Even my clients say, they say, like, we love that, you share your own stories. And it really, even, that is something that helps people to open themselves up by being vulnerable. But I think a lot of women are struggling with that because usually, vulnerability, they say, oh, that's very feminine to do that. And also men, somehow struggle. But we all have this male and female energy, and it's about balancing it out, and not being afraid is to show up for who you truly are. And if people criticize you or if they don't like it, it's all about that self-love and to really stay grounded with your both 2 feet on the ground, and not let you, if you're really genuine and if you stay really true to yourself, there is no need to have fear, because fear is also part of the ego, part of the personality, not part of your soul. And so it's, just keep on remembering and getting to the core of who you truly are, and just show up, take up your space, and go out there and not be afraid. And people that will like it, they will, you will attract the right people that resonate with what you do and what you say. And that's how you build your community. And people that don't, let them be for who they are, and do not get distracted. As long as you stay close to yourself and you have respect to others, there is no reason to have fear.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, you are absolutely right. But this work needs to be done, and it's really kind of toughest homework, I would say. But it's really rewarding and beautiful because it's giving the energy and the space. Awesome. Evelien, let me encourage people to really go back to your book and get the book from Evelien. This is basically the new book, which I'm really excited. It's like I mentioned, I was working like scratching, making a notes. Evelien, where our listeners can find you, if you could give them direction where they can find you, so that would be really awesome, so they can go and explore more what you are sharing.
Well, people can find me on my website, which is Evelien van Es. It's Evelien, and then Van Es is just VANES .com, and then the English version is /en, but there's a Dutch and an English version. I also have a free ebook on my website, and my book is available in Dutch and in English. So, available on Amazon, wherever you're from whatever part in the world. And it's, and I really hope that it helps you to reflect and to learn and to grow. And it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in the corporate world. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, through my website or through email, and contact at evelienvanes.com, and I'd be happy to hear any comments or questions, and you're always welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Evelien. And I know the best way to get to the person's mind and the brain is to interview it. That's why I couldn't resist to interview you and get for you all your tips and know you personally. So thank you very much. So listeners, I'm going to put all the link in the description so you can find Evelien easy, and do not hesitate to reach out to her because she's just great, helping so many people. Evelien, thank you very much, and wishing you a wonderful day. Yeah, talk to you.
Thank you so much, Cornelia.